Don't act like you being all studious and shit
my
now.
God.
Hey, how you doing?
I just happen to be reading this book.
Nah, actually, what we was doing was
So
he
happen
was.
to be reading this book. This book. What book was it? Wait, that you may ask.
No,
What book was it?
No, these should have came like this. Oh, hi. Oh, I just happened to. Oh shit. Oh,
You blew me. Education is paramount. Indubitably. Hey everybody.
What up?
We were just watching some. Okay, so here's the problem, people. I'm gonna say black people. I'm gonna say people.
The
Oh, sorry. Let me turn that down.
To the people everywhere. To the people.
So I'm sitting here. We're watching this video and we're trying to figure out if something like, you know what? Look here, like when they talk about believe every woman. Nah.
That's the saying. Just believe her. Just no matter what the evidence say.
Let me. Nah, we're not doing like I'm not gonna have this card. Like I feel like there are thinking people, and then there's the populace that's online. I'm sorry, like because it's like no, I'm not gonna believe everybody because everybody look. No, I'm not gonna do it. Nor am I gonna believe the other people. Like I'm not believing nobody until I see what happened. R. Kelly, I saw the tape. That was a child.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't need her and her family who took her out of the country to leave, allegedly, I guess, I don't know, to leave, and for the tape is still there. He should have been in jail.
I'm fighting for my life. It's not funny what happened. Not funny that he did it. No, I'm just talking about the response.
No, but the funniest shit was the Saturday Night Live skit with Keenan and Leslie Jones.
I didn't get that. I didn't see that. I missed that. No.
After this show, I will show it to you immediately.
All right.
Oh, that thing was funny. Okay. I was like, these people, look.
I'll be waiting.
If you can't laugh at pain, you're just gonna be in pain. This is what it's gonna be. But I say that to say we just watched the issue, like a video, and we were trying to figure out if the video was pro police or pro black people. Like clearly something happened.
Like no, she was wrong from the jump.
I feel like she was wrong when she started running. It was a big girl. She ain't running for no reason.
And she knew she wasn't gonna get far. That's the other part of it.
But she put some. She did
like, a little distance. Yes,
a little distance in there.
But she was gonna get tired by the time she got around that car. She knew it.
And my thing is, she gonna start running, right? And she knew she didn't have the stamina for it, so she ran back to the car, and she went to get in the car. I'm like, you don't run that fast, lady. Like that's what happened when you believe your own hype. You thought you could get away from him, and you just ran around the car. Nobody like. And so
he was chunky too, so maybe she said, "I'm less chunky than he is." Maybe that's what about. Okay,
she lost the
BMI. I felt that. I felt that roll. Okay, I'm a little bit less chunky than him. Let me get away.
Oh, speaking of which, so Shady Baby. I call myself spending time with my nieces.
Oh, okay.
And Shady Baby walks up to me, put her hand on my stomach, and said, "There's the baby." And then she laughed. And like, so like kids, you think that they're not, they're children. They're just whatever. No, kids know what they're doing. And she looked me dead in my eye and then laughed like the evil chuckle.
I got you, didn't I?
And she walked away. Yeah, that hurt, didn't it? Go to the gym.
So that must be hereditary then. So clowning people is hereditary.
Oh, it has to be because all them are clowns. All yours are clowns. Like it has to be. It has to be in the DNA. Okay.
In the DNA.
Because she's 3 now, right?
Yeah.
She's 3. How is she gonna look me? And then she waited till I looked at her.
For full effect, I'm gonna pause. Look, dramatic pause.
Yeah, she kept her hand on my belly. Yes, and walked off and did a drive-by. I was like,
I got her. Yeah. And go to the other one and be like, you saw that,
huh? Horrible people. Horrible. That's okay. That's okay. That's why I don't know your birthday.
She ain't worry about you. She just
really ain't.
come hit me up and
She
be
gonna
like,
ask
Uncle
me.
Willie.
She gonna ask me if I remember. She's like, "Why you saying that for my birthday?" I'm gonna be like, "You know why." That's what I'm gonna be like, "You know why."
I'm saving it for the baby.
And then she gonna laugh. Yeah, yeah.
I'm saving it for the new baby.
She probably gonna laugh and walk off. Oh, that girl is something else. That's like, and here's the worst part. I like her. Like I like
she got character.
funky kids.
She got character. She do.
Yeah, I like little funky kids because like the world's gonna be hard enough, right? You need to be able to have a little
grit.
Yeah, grit. Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais
You
quoi.
gotta have that backbone, that steel or whatever. Like the second and the youngest, I worry about her. She's a tender heart. Like, I worry about her. I just want to hug her and protect her from the world. But that one, that one's gonna be doing. I ever showed you a video of when I started picking a fight with her. The second and oldest, I started picking a fight with her, and the youngest one was like, "No."
Oh yeah,
she gonna
be the one. She's gonna be the one. She gonna have to take up for her.
I feel bad.
Oh, hold on. That's a mic on you.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's like looking in the mirror. Maybe that's why I like Shady Baby. It's like looking in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, get them together. That's okay. That was a good joke. You know, half the time when I talk to people who even hate me, when they say something mean to me, I'm like, that's a good one.
And you just laugh it off like,
yeah, I'm like, yeah.
She ain't no fun.
Yeah, it's a good one. I got a message today. Somebody sent me something last minute, like a last minute invite to somewhere. And as a side note, this is just a responsible PSA announcement to everybody. When you are at work or when you're dealing with your loved ones or when you're just in general, it's always a good idea to write the text without the name in the subject or write the email without the email address in the subject, just in case you get real flagrant. Because if you send it, you can't take it back, right? So I say that to say, I was writing a text because I've been doing that so long. I got skill set on it. Like I can so I was writing a text. So now it's to the point where when I write a text, I write the text. I write what I want to say because it makes me feel better, and then I delete it and write whatever.
And write real thing.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
So so it was a text saying I'm gonna be in town this time. I'm gonna be in the town this time, right? And I was like, oh, I can't make this time because I'm gonna have a housewarming party for my home, and the other time I just don't want to. And then I took a snapshot of that and sent it to my friends.
Okay.
Because it amused me. It amused me, and I sent it to my friends, and it's like, oh Lord. And I'm like, I feel like Shady Baby would have sent it.
Oh
and
yeah,
I respect that.
Yeah, probably accidentally sent it though, and be like, "Oh shit!"
I mean, like, then she'll do this, and then walk off. Shady Baby. Hey everybody. What is the topic of the conversation? So I just had a conversation with my brother this week, and we were like, you know what? I want to have like a series, right? Like it's like same thing when we do
semi-series.
Yeah. Like why semi?
Oh, okay, I don't know.
No, it's gonna be. I mean,
okay,
it'll be like when we do Black business, it's something we do monthly, whatever. I'm not saying we're gonna do this monthly, but there are conversations that we bring up that there are conversations that we bring up online, and it talks about. We always talk about privilege, right? We talk about just. We may never say the word privilege, but I feel like we do often. But I feel like there's a conversation to be had as the different types of privilege that exist in the world, and we talk about it. We kind of we touch on. We do this.
You just put our finger on it and
get
back
but
off.
We never really drill down on it. So, today we're gonna take. This is the very first episode of one I would like to revisit. And on ADHD, often to discuss the different types of privilege and how they affect the world, right? So, I mean, ADHD hour happens to have 2 Black people on it, but it's not just about Black people. It's about our experiences in the world, no matter what color community. I feel like you want to say something foul.
What?
Why do you look guilty?
Because you're not looking at the screen.
Oh my god! If only you could show that one. That would be awesome.
No, it's about to come.
We can't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
Okay, we cannot. We cannot. Delete.
Yeah, exactly. Delete.
You know, I don't have my glasses on. It took me a minute to set it in. Okay. Anyway, I'm trying to be responsible. God damn it. So there's different conversations of privilege that exist in the world, and so we were like, let's talk about it. Let's do this. Let's talk about the different kind. And it just so happened that the first one that came in my mind happened to do has to do with a conversation I had at work, right? So before I do that, let's put up the should I
oh, you want to bring in
let's I can't deal with him either. I can't do it. Let's bring in.
So you want to say it first and then bring him in, or
sure, I want him to hear the conversation. I don't know if he can hear me. Okay. We're gonna bring in that guy.
That guy. You not gonna see it on the screen, but
okay. We're gonna bring in that guy to introduce us. I can't stand him. Oh, he can hear us. Actually, wait. Oh, well, he's here. Hey, that guy. Hi, how are you? So I was just about to tell a story as to what preempted me to contact you about this conversation, to have this conversation, because we were originally talking last week and you were on in our comments and it was like fun. It was just fun times. And we were like, oh, we should have an Ask the White Guy segment. And I was like, I feel that's highly disrespectful. I'm not going to do that. But I would like input on certain things. To have input on certain things, you have to have representation about the input, right? So that to say that I can't do. Yeah, so I was like, Ray was perfect for this one because I was trying to figure out how to have this conversation and be responsible and still be silly and still be all the things that we are.
All the good things.
But also still be responsible. So I was at work one day. This was a while ago. And I was talking to a gentleman who was, I know he's from a southern state. He's a white guy. And we were talking. Cool. Like me and him, cool. No problems whatsoever. Something happened at work. It was a racial incident, right? It was a racial incident. And basically, it was like the guy, okay, big black guy, big white guy. This is the two people in the incident, right? I'm getting meta. So now I'm telling a story about a story. All right. So the white guy got mad because the black guy, who happened to have been the instructor, asked him to table this conversation until later. So he said, you don't tell me what the fuck to do. Oh, I can say that word. I'm trying to remember what words I can't say. What words I'm working on. Fuck is definitely not coming off my vernacular anytime soon. I can't. I have enough problems with the other one.
This could be an adjective. You know, it depends.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
So he got mad at him for telling him what to do. And then like, because at first it was like, all right, maybe he was like questioning authority, right? But then it was like, I ain't about to let no black guy tell me what to do. Like it was like I was with you.
Homer Simpson.
So
tell me how you was really raised moments.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So well, it got worse because the guy was the instructor was like, all right, well, that's fine. Everybody take a break or whatever. And he tried to de-escalate the situation, right? Now, granted, let's be clear. This dude's an old Southern black man too. So his de-escalation doesn't really, I mean, I'm not going to say it was, I mean, he didn't disrespect the man or anything like that, but it, like, if you understood, people don't understand de-escalation means that you shouldn't be doing it. You need to get somebody else involved.
Yeah, you need to intervene. Somebody intervene.
So it might be seen, and I'm saying this from the outside looking in, it might be seen that he thought he was being chastised further. It was already a hostile situation on both parts now. But before it became the black guy became it became a color issue. The other guy thought he was being talked down to, addressed down, right? So I say all that to say it spun into the white guy tried to punch him. He swung at him.
Damn. Okay.
And he swung at the wrong person because this dude is a boxer. So he knocked him out.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yes. And it was a whole thing. It just happened in front of a bunch of people, whatever. So then the white guy decided he wanted to press charges, but he got arrested.
Yeah.
He got arrested because you can press charges for something you initiated.
Yeah, you initiated.
But the black guy decided to file complaints to get him fired. And this is where we come into the conversation. And he didn't get fired. And under normal circumstances, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That I mean, it's just the fact that then. So that was the thing I was saying. I was saying the unfortunate part of this situation is this black guy gets to walk the earth knowing that had this been reversed,
he would have lost his
he'd
job.
have lost his job. He would have got arrested. All this stuff would have happened to him. So the guy I was talking to was saying, well, I don't think it's a black issue. I mean, he agreed that the dude was out of pocket.
Yeah.
He agreed all day long. The dude was out of pocket. He should have got arrested and whatever. But it wasn't because he was white that he was given a second chance. It was because they decided to do that and they were stupid for doing it. He agreed the guy should have got fired. He agreed the whole thing. It was just my why and his why were two different whys, right? Which sparked another conversation that got real tense on his part. And it ended with him saying something like, I said, look, you have to understand, you can't say that there's not a privilege being white. And then he got mad. I thought I said something about his mama or something like that. I was like, he got real mad at me. He was like, I grew up poor in the South and and like he was like, what's the disparaging statement that they talk about for white people? Trailers.
Trailer park
people.
Trash. Trailer park.
Yeah. So he said he was trailer trash and he said all this stuff. He got real flex. Like I was like, yo, look, all I said was this. And from where he stood, he had no privilege of being white. There was no privilege of it. He had to work hard to get where he was at. And it was just like I realized everything I was saying was hitting a wall. And at first I was offended. I'm not even gonna lie. I was offended that he couldn't even acknowledge the prejudice that exists, right? And his friend, his bestie is a black guy. This guy's really black, like he's Southern black. And so he was like, yeah, black people don't experience. I said, there's not one black person who hasn't experienced a racist situation. He said, that's not true. My friend hasn't. And I said, your friend hasn't told you, probably because you're like this. I said, that's my bet. And then he got mad. And I'm like, well, maybe I should just stop because clearly I'm not helping this situation. Nope. So I
de-escalate.
I wasn't. So then I talked to the black guy who's his best friend, right? And I said, hey, you've never experienced a racist situation? He said, I'm black. I said, have you ever told your friend? He said, no, he ain't gonna understand. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, how? So this is what spawned this conversation because I was like, it always sat in the back of my head because this happened years ago. It always sat in the back of my head because I was like, how do you have this conversation with people? And what was really the issue, right? Because what I see when I saw him, I didn't see somebody who grew up poor. I didn't see his own issues, right? Because we're all walking around with our own issues.
And that's his perception, though. Nobody can't see what your perception is on life. The fact that, like, if I look at you, a white man, I can't tell you grew up poor, but I can tell a black man you grew up black.
Yeah.
In America, I could tell that.
I agree. But I also feel like we have not luxury, but we are sitting in the skin. Right? I can't say the luxury. I'm sure he'll say luxury. But we were sitting in the skin. So I'm like, how do we have this conversation? Because at the end of the day, I realized the issue wasn't the fact that he saw himself like he thinks being poor means that he's going through the same stuff as being black. That's how I felt. And again, it's a shame I couldn't have that conversation with him because it was like,
well, he was heated at that point. Walls up and defense is on.
Well, that's the whole reason that spawned this conversation. So we have the topic of the show is, now you can list it. 50 Shades of Privilege. Ray helped me come up with this title. We kept spitballing things back and forth to each other. And then I was like, 50 Shades of Privilege. I like it. And then we have White Poverty Edition.
Okay.
Because I realized, well, if am I educated, engineering educated, not educated all across the board, opinion, the problem is he saw his poverty as a limiting factor, which means that he experienced the same discrimination that we did, is how I took it.
It's trying to weigh out your bad situations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I decided to bring Ray on to discuss this conversation because Ray,
he's white. Hey, Ray.
Well, no, Ray may be white, but Ray was late, so obviously all his.
Oh yeah, you got black. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black
I can't hear you, Ray. Say.
I said it's part of my show up late. People don't even notice.
Yeah. They're not gonna call it. It's not CP time if you do it. You know,
it's a part of his.
People around don't even know what CP time is. So
you're late. Yeah, you're just late. He's just running a little late.
Just a scooch.
They pushed back the start time for him. That's what happened.
Okay. That's what it is. Oh, that's privilege right there. We're gonna move it back.
So Ray, do you want to tell us something about yourself? Because what do you? Well, I'll let you introduce yourself. And I'll let you say what you think of what I was just talking about.
So what specifically would you like to know? Like, if there's anybody curious about what they would want to know, but specifically what y'all would want to know as far as my origins, maybe?
I think your origins are important. I just don't. Okay. I didn't want to put what you weren't willing to like. This is a sharing space, safe space. Okay.
Yeah. So, I grew up in pretty much like rural Florida, like South Florida, and also grew up in a predominantly, you could say, conservative upbringing. So my family's political views just got voted out, so to speak. If you want to,
they voted out.
What I mean by that, right? So, but what you're taught versus what is somebody believes necessarily at the same time doesn't necessarily align. My parents always taught me to be an independent thinker and to process information more than feeling. That was something that was passed down to me individually that my parents were different with. I would get exposed to a lot of left topics and a lot of right topics, and then I would be asked, what did I think? And then I would be asked challenging questions on those, even if they didn't align with what my parents thought. So that was, I would say it was a unique situation for mine. But then I ended up, again, growing up in Florida in a more rural type of aspect. But then at the same time, right after that, in 9th grade, my family decided to move to Mississippi. And that's when I really got exposed to, like, there's some difference on some things. And I actually come from, my family comes from my biological father and my stepfather, totally different worlds. I carry a Hispanic name, but I'm Caucasian. So people always thought I was Italian based on the way that my name looked, which was kind of, funny to begin with, and you don't realize it as a child. But growing up in Mississippi for 4 years, got exposed to a lot of everything, so to speak. I was the only white dude on the basketball team. You can see Kobe behind me. But at the same time, kids don't know who you are or what you are. They don't know how to treat you or what to treat you as, especially when you're different from what's been normal in the area. And it was in an area that on average graduates like 50 people a year. So it's not like it's, diverse to say the least.
This school then.
Right. So, I mean, the middle school was the next campus over, and the bus picked up everybody at the same time. So, but I guess you could say that's probably big for some people also. So there's definitely some people that probably only graduated 10, or it's not a competition, but just to give perspective. Went to the military immediately after, like, I was in my 11th grade year of high school. It was like, I need out of this. I don't like this. This sucks. And I joined the Army in my 11th grade year of high school on a program that they had called the Delay Entry Program. And I got the fuck out of there. So ended up joining the military and retired from the military in 2016. So got to see the world and all kinds of different other perspectives, and not just from an American white and black perspective, but a beyond American borders white and black perspective as well.
Yeah, it's a different world when you step outside the United States and you
Yeah.
start to yeah. Like, and you think it's like that's why I want to have that discussion about privilege and how privilege look in different components in different areas of it, because people don't understand, if you only live in the world you live in, meaning the family you grew up in, the friends you've had your whole life and whatever, then your views are valid, but they're also limited.
And they're never challenged.
And well, they're not challenged, but they're also limited, right? Like, you think a micro view is a macro issue when it's not. And so I know when I said the trailer thing, and like I try to stay away from
you want me to put that in there?
Well, no, you raised your hand. So I was like, I stay away from disparaging comment. I dislike trying to find ways to hurt people being white. I absolutely dislike it. One, it's a failed attempt. Like,
how much credit score is 800?
If I could change my sweater to straight out of Compton, it would have like straight out of the half trailer. Like, I didn't even have a full trailer. It was a half of a trailer connected to another half of a trailer, because the one trailer had two doors. So we were able to align the two trailers up like this so that the doors aligned, and then we were able to. So we literally had, that for the old heads, when you played Tetris, there was a piece that went like this and then like this. That's what I lived in.
Oh, no.
And then the part that I specifically lived in was the part that was above the truck that connects. So, like, imagine.
Oh, okay, I got it now. I got it. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't too.
Imagine this. Like, the truck pulls up like next to it, right here, it hooks up and then drags it along that way, that way. I lived in this part.
Okay.
I couldn't even stand up.
That's little, very descriptive, Ray. Thank you. Yeah. Like, it took that. It took that. Yeah. It's no. You had me when you said the lip part, and I was like, wait. He's talking about the T. Yeah. Like, he's talking about that little
the little loft.
Oh, you had a loft.
The trailer loft.
It sounds better when I say I lived in a loft.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Perception.
So like using the term like I try to stay away from using terms like trailer trash and that kind of stuff. One, because it doesn't speak to color, more so poverty. And I feel like poverty, I feel like color isn't funny, poverty isn't funny as well. And the other part of it is people who grow up in poverty don't necessarily know that they're in poverty. Not everybody.
Not everybody. Yeah. Some know they're hungry.
Yeah. But if you're getting food, like if you're if you're eating Cheetos every day, you're eating. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that it's quality.
Yeah.
It means that you have one singular struggle that you share with somebody else.
Yes.
And kind of the comment that Heidi put on there is spot on. Socioeconomically, disparities are easier to overcome when you come from a class of individuals who don't have the other hurdles put in front of you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, when you don't have that main hurdle, that bigger hurdle.
And so the one thing I wish I could say, how there's like, if Fox News wants to say something bad about Black people, they'll put a Black person on to say it.
Yeah.
Like, so I realize I can't say that to somebody who happens to be white, happens to be male, and happens to be poor, because I only qualified for one of those three things.
I mean, now that Drew Brees is retired, they'll probably hire him.
Yeah.
He retired? I didn't think he retired. When he retired?
Yeah, that came out today.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I missed it then.
Oh,
yeah.
Drew.
People still giving him a pass, but I know y'all from New Orleans, so I got to stab you a little bit.
Yeah.
It don't bother me.
Hey, Drew got us a championship. I'm not even going.
I will. What he did.
Remember how do y'all remember the statements that he made? And the people were giving a pass on after the fact, and I'm sitting here like.
But it was the same statement. He stuck by the same statement. I mean, no matter who was the president.
I don't think there was anything wrong with his statement. He was saying that he didn't feel like he should kneel.
Yeah, that was the initial statement. And
I have to go back and look. I believe it was I remember the emotion of what he said, feeling unaligned with what he said. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I do remember the emotion the emotion I felt when it came out, and I was like, how could you be so disattached when your life is so aligned with individuals who don't look like you?
So what he answered on, and this is what it does. I remember the media asking him a question because they knew his stance already, and whatever had happened, the black man that got killed, I forgot who it was. There was so many.
George Floyd?
It might have been George Floyd. So they asked him about the kneeling thing part of it. He was like, "Well, my family fought for this country." That was part of his answer. The fact that he was attaching himself to this country, the flag and everything, and not disrespecting the flag. That's what his answer was about. I don't recall him saying anything about George Floyd.
He never once said nothing. I mean, like,
I don't remember him saying anything.
I don't give a shit. Like, I hate the narrative of this, of these statements, of these movements, of these little things being associated to greater things. The kneeling means nothing. Change means everything.
Yeah. And actually at that point, you know, it was gone. The symbolism was gone at that point.
I mean, the symbolism was bastardized from the beginning. Like when they made it about the military, I was like, well, I'm not a symbol girl anyway.
When Trump got into it, it was more about,
I'm not a symbol girl.
The origins of it, as somebody who's retired military to begin with, the origins of the whole process actually anger a lot of military people to begin with. So I grew up, again, it's part of my little, economic struggles and things that I still got to participate in. I remember going to a Bucks game, in Tampa, and they didn't play the national anthem. They didn't play that when I was a kid. And I couldn't even remember when they started. And then when the origins of when they actually started, it came back from the military paying the NFL so that way they could instill patriotism and the likelihood of patriotism in something, so that a way that we could get recruiting opportunities.
For more men to come in.
You weren't going for patriotism, you were going for recruiting. So you were using the anthem as a marketing tool. And I'm supposed to be okay with this. No.
I'm not a symbolist.
Yeah.
That's why I don't associate with symbols. Like, if you want to be the change, stop. Like, to me, if the change is right here, I'm right here. I'm not gonna go over here in hopes to get right there. Like, I'm not gonna go around, dance around it. Let's just get to the change. I'm not a symbolist. I'm just not.
And the same thing with me with groups. I don't affiliate with groups. I don't like, groups. When people do groups,
is that why you hate women?
If it was women a group, I thought women's gender.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Wrong thing. Women's a gender. I love women. I'm talking about the groups that some women align themselves with that's being changed. They shift the meaning of certain groups, and so that's
they
my
end up getting bastardized, and they start.
Black Lives Matter is one of them that I could call out. Outside of the women group, but the Black Lives Matter, that they tend to give their own meaning to certain things, and this week we're talking about this, next week talking about that, and if you affiliate with it,
Black Lives Matter movement got co-opted by the LGBTQI people as well. Alphabet took over the Black Lives Matter at some point. But I say that to say this. So if you watch the show, all two of y'all who watch the show often enough, you'll notice I always say stuff like, "Oh, he hates black women," right? Because that's what they do. That's exactly what media does. They'll sit there and listen to people say something, and they clearly say something, and you're like, "Oh, what made you hate America?" Why don't you? Why aren't you a patriot?
They lead you,
and they bypass everything that is said, and then there are people who it's gaslighting.
Yeah,
it's gaslighting, and it amuses me. So I need to be amused, so I do it. But it amuses me how simple it is, because then that becomes a soundbite.
It becomes a soundbite
moving forward. But to get back to so I have a question, right? How did poverty affect you, right? Let's back up another case. Was Florida poverty different from Mississippi poverty?
So there was, for my stages of life, that I had phases. I had phases of poverty with phases of like not hurting at all to back to poverty. So I got a unique aspect. Like I remember my mom was a single mother. I rephrase that. I don't remember it because I was like very young. But my mom was a single mother working as a waitress. with me, and that was it. In her own trailer on her mom and dad's land that they had already previously purchased when my grandfather was in the Air Force. Pardon me. No. So then my stepfather comes into the table, which he, for all intents and purposes, is still my father. He's still around to this day. If anything, I always call him my father. So he came into the picture, hardworking individual, prior military also. He went into business that my grandfather had actually owned and was working there, no issues. Got to the point where we were living in like 2 different locations in Florida. Like we had a house in Central Florida and a house in South Florida. We had a boat. We had some other things. So it was like not struggle at all. And then we had some we had some family issues, some family drama popped off. And we shut down shop and moved to Mississippi into that trailer situation because of the family drama. The side that had money and influence and affluence was the side that kind of made some moral discrepancies. And my dad, moving on character, said, no, regardless of the money, we out. And that's when we went back to poverty in high school for me. And how did that affect me? It gave me perspective. I remember because of this trailer situation, it wasn't like glamping where you had running water. The only running water we had was to the shower and to the kitchen sink. Notice I did not say toilet.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So, right. So there was periods of time where like we had a 55-gallon drum outside. So if anything that happened for more than number 1, you had to put it like the paper in another bin. And then at the end of the day, you had to take it out and put it in the 55-gallon drum, and then you had to burn it. So to get rid of all the paper.
Yeah.
That was the upgrade to the plywood box that had a seat drilled into it. That if it was nighttime, you needed a flashlight and some shoes so you could go outside. So, but we were independent and we didn't rely on anything because we were on land that was afforded to us from my mom's side of the family. So there's always been this opportunity of these other things. And that's, coming to the concept of what some other people were talking about previously, opportunities that I didn't necessarily have other struggles with, So while I was struggling with these other things, I also didn't have rent to pay. Yeah. So it's like, imagine the largest bill that you own and you have, I didn't have. I was very fortunate because of opportunities made in other generations beforehand.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Just so I can concisely say what happened, if I can put it in one sentence, you went from Good Times to the Jeffersons, back to Good Times, and then Sanford and Son.
Then into MASH.
Then into MASH. Yes.
Oh, damn. Yeah, he went to the Army. He went to the military.
I was medical.
Oh, you was medical? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a combat medic for the Army.
Okay, Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Right.
Hawkeye. Thank you for joining me in that that homage to the old television shows. So the one thing that stood out the most with the whole conversation was you were propped up already, right? There was a history.
Even while down.
Yeah, even while down, you still were able to prop up. And I think I think the cool part of that part was the fact that you were still able to see that, I think that a lot of people, I don't have any kids. I want to be very clear. I don't have any kids, but he does. He's
I don't have. I'm the pull-out champ of Atlanta. I ain't got no kids.
Uh-oh.
Hey.
The
ding,
pull
ding,
out.
ding, ding, ding. He
click,
had,
click, click.
Know your stroke count.
15 seconds.
But he is
reposition now.
But my brother he's a grandfather, right? And the one thing I noticed that old people, I just want to say grandfather.
I know. Keep going. Continue.
The one thing I noticed that's consistent with people who have kids is legacy, right? And so building something for the future, even if you're not around for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because your great-grandfather, maybe your great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather built up a legacy. So whereas if you failed, y'all didn't fall hard. Y'all didn't fall far.
Didn't fall far. Mm-hmm.
Right? And a far is relative. I get it. But still, you still acknowledge, like,
it's a fall back, not a fall down.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm even open to say that if it was considered a fall down. But my thing is, the good news is what I assume everybody with kids think about is creating their legacy for their future actually happened in your situation. So much so that your great-grandfather thought so much about, or I mean, your forefather, let's say it like that. Your forefather, I've never said forefathers to a black person.
MyAncestry.com said
we don't know that. That's why
I've never used that term alive. So I said it's a Ray, it's like black adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Your forefathers actually did the job, that they set up to do, which is create something for the future for them. And I think that's something that ends up being sensitive. Go ahead.
Something you just spoke on is lended to another opportunity to speak on privilege and the fact that, example, you never had the opportunity to speak on that in that manner is because my history is taught as a primary portion of the curriculum and yours is an elective.
Yep.
Well, there's that.
And sometimes it's not elective. Sometimes you have to go to college and pay for that.
Or just not get it at all.
We didn't
if
have
you don't want to get it.
Yep.
We didn't have that as elective. We just had it as a month.
Yep.
But also outside of that, just the history of that, but our history, like we were just talking about our grandfather on my dad's side and finding out some information about him. And not to mention our great-grandfather. Like, I've always been impressed with people who know more about their lineage.
Mm-hmm.
We are creating our lineage for the future. Like we're creating that. And so the good news is one day, if my great nieces or great nephews or great whatever falls down, maybe something I created could prop them up so they don't fall hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the good news of that. The bad news is we didn't have that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have that luxury of falling back and falling into the cradle of that, of having something to prop us up. I don't know that gentleman that I told you the story about. He might not have had any of those things. But what was very frustrating for me is I wasn't trying to say to him, and I don't know if he heard me, I wasn't trying to say to him that his experience growing up had no value, had no merit. I was trying to say that his experience is different from this person's experience, and this person's experience is ongoing, as opposed to your experience was something that was from your past.
So what I'm about to say pisses a lot of people off.
Let's do
it. Specifically people who look like me. What's not understood about the concept is that acknowledging it doesn't take anything away from Caucasian society. It's acknowledging that there's a difference. However, the perception is that by acknowledging it, I'm, somebody who was taught not to cut in line. I was taught not to cheat. I was taught not to be unethical. I was taught to do the right thing. I was taught to do the golden rule, all of these things. So by acknowledging that this thing exists, then it's almost as if I've taken something away from other people inherently, or by chance or by secondhand, and therefore I'm guilty of something. And therefore, the other part that pisses people off is you started where you are, and now you're here. Not to go along with the song, but you started here and now you're here. And this is as far as you've made it. Whereas people who have started further back, who had a longer path with more struggles, have been able to make it to where you are also. That's a knock on you for not achieving the opportunities that you didn't, maximize.
Yeah. No,
So
and what you said is like accessory after the fact. When we talk about crime, it's like being accessory after the fact, accessory to slavery and everything, and they feel like it's a knock on them and them coming up.
But do they really feel like it's accessory after the fact, or are they just trying not to acknowledge?
it's more of a feeling than an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I feel like the feeling is saying that, like, okay, here's the thing, right? Nobody wants to say this as a female, right?
I'm taking my Caucasian costume off, by the way. I'm tired of this fishing hat.
Oh, the trucker hat gotta go. The trucker hat gotta go.
I wore my Lululemon for you.
I've never worn that hat before.
I wore my Lululemon for you. I wanted you to feel comfortable. I was like, all right, like yoga pants.
Yoga pants, yeah.
And the top. I was like, I want to make sure. I don't have a Starbucks, but I got.
Let me get my smart water here. Hold on.
Yeah. I grind my grande. So fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say.
So as a white woman, I mean, as a black woman,
as a woman, like nobody wants, like we don't want to acknowledge certain facts, right? Because the facts might invalidate other facts, right? So I don't want to sit there and say that I've used my femininity to get me ahead in life, right? Because that implies that I'm utilizing something that the feminist movement says that's been held against us in the past. So I'm utilizing what's been held against us to get me ahead. But I can say, yes, I know this guy. Like I used to work with this guy. He loved me. Right? He wanted to do chocolate morning, noon, and night. And he couldn't stand, he loved being around me, right? He never did anything. It was never disrespectful. But I took advantage of the fact that he likes me. So, like, I applied for the job. I got the job. Shock face. How did I get the job? Because I knew that was the advantage I had. And I'm not gonna I can sit there in this breath and say that I used my sexuality to make it work for me, and I could also say that my sexuality has been worked against me and used against me in times too. And both of those things can exist in the same vein.
In the same breath.
So I feel like when it comes to the idea of acknowledging the privilege that white people have, I think that they are afraid to acknowledge it because they're afraid it'll be used against them.
Kind of like the situation that you gave with the individual, the older white dude who got knocked out, and he was able to retain his job, correct? So the term I use is what is it? Unexplainable justification. When you can't explain the justification of why something happened, then what is it? You're the reason, and I don't mean you. I mean the person who made the decision to retain him. Why did you retain him? And no justification can be given. However, the other side, so to speak, of the table is able to say the only reason that you were able to do this is because you were black or that you were white. In this instance, for him, because he was white. Then justify that it's not, and you still can't.
You can't, and you won't.
and won't.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's like leaning to the capacity of you're showing it with your silence. You're showing it with your actions, and it's just there are so many times that unexplainable justification is utilized.
Well, let me ask you a question. In that situation, right? I will say, because I know him, I came to a conclusion that one, he'll never understand. He doesn't want to understand the struggles, but at least he has in my mind, and I'm just telling you how I felt about it. I felt like at least he had a definitive right-wrong mechanism to be able to identify what happened was wrong, even though he wasn't able to define the why. Is that good enough?
No, unfortunately, no, because you still you mean from his perspective?
Yes. Should I try to hold him to a higher standard, or should I just accept there are some people in the world?
Oh, yes, there are some people in this world who refuse and deny and do not want to understand. And those individuals, there's nothing you can do. I think I said it on the last week's thing where I said something along the lines of you have to take opportunities, and I'm elaborating on what I said last week, but you have to take opportunities to elaborate in moments of clarity for some people. Some people have their wall up at all times. And then there's opportunities when that wall is taken down for a split second, but then you have to impart knowledge based on what that question or that opportunity of why that wall was down. If you give them too much, too fast, or the wrong topic of their question, their wall is going to immediately go right back up and they're not going to absorb anything. But if you can impart any kind of information that makes them question their own origins and their own thought processes, that is going to stay behind the wall once the wall goes back up, and it's going to fester within them, and it's going to create other opportunities for the wall to come back down. So for this individual, his wall is up. Don't try to throw anything against the wall. But when the wall comes back down, that's when you have to speak and lend to the topic of where the wall and why the reason the wall went down. If he's asking questions about why specifically the George Floyd situation happened, then speak on George Floyd only. Don't bring in Breonna Taylor. Don't bring in anybody else. There's so many names to name. Don't bring in anybody else. Speak on the topic of why he's there with that moment of the peace flag, so to speak.
And I'm going to say why I feel it's not good enough also, because it wasn't good enough because he told you that it was unfair. He didn't tell nobody else that didn't look like you that it was unfair. It was okay to tell you because you have the same skin color as that guy, right? He didn't go tell anybody else that, okay, this what he thought about it.
So I can't say that he wouldn't.
I need to lend to the instructor too. Not only that, but you also said that the instructors had to like do a calm down session or whatever, and it would have been expected that he go get somebody else. But I've been an instructor in many situations, especially as a senior leader in the military. I've never been expected to go get another person to close out a discrepancy that happened with me. Why is he expected to go get somebody else to handle a situation with somebody that doesn't look like him?
Because it could have gone bad for him. And so to me, that's a conversation I had with him. And it was funny because this is another conversation for another day on privilege. But just to touch on it for a second. Yes. just to touch on it for a second. I pulled him on the side and I said, look, I hated that I had to do this, right? I hated that I did that because there are right and wrongs in this world that exist no matter what, right? But there's also survival right and wrongs, I feel, that exist in this world. And so, but I hated to have to break somebody, right? I hated to have to be the person to say to another black person, a black man at that, from a black woman, that you have to diminish yourself to survive to the next round. Sometimes. And I said that to him, and I didn't say it in those words or whatever the case may be, but basically that was the summary of what I was saying. I was like, this is happening, but this is happening through the lens of you and the lens of your viewers. And you have to be very careful when it comes to the lens of your viewers, because some people have more credibility in their view than others. And I'm saying not you, because you're a big black man, and that's what it is. And he was really upset with me. He was really upset with me. And I had to go off and lick my wounds because I had to keep my face stoic and serious because I needed him to understand this is survival. This is not about the fight for black people against white people. This is the fight for you eating tomorrow. And that's it. Like there are bigger situations, and this ain't worth that fight in this moment. And I had to walk off and just kind of lick my own wounds because he was not happy with me. And and like eventually he came back to me and he was like, I didn't like what you said, but he said nobody else would have said it though. He was like, you said what people would smile in my face like nothing happened, and they would talk about me behind my back. He said, you said it. He said, I can't be mad at you for you saying something because you're trying to take care of me. And then that's one story and a ton of stories that I have where I've tried to help somebody protect themselves and understand the precariousness of their Blackness and the precariousness of their education and how everything can be perceived in a certain way. And for you to survive, not black, white, just you. And you happen to be a Black person, this or whatever the things may be that fall under your descriptions, your descriptors. And like luckily for him, it worked with him, and he's somebody I bounce stuff off of to this day. Like,
had I been in the room, knowing my mentality, knowing me how I am, I would have been like Smokey in that room. I would have been over that when he got you got knocked the fuck out. He's all in 911 to come get him arrested for being knocked out.
You know the trauma that, like, and I say this, I don't mean this to say, I don't say this lightly, because I don't say, like, y'all know me, right? So I don't say this lightly when I say this. Watching that happen and watching it happen to him hurt me too. Because it was like, how can I tell my nieces and nephews that the world's going to be fair to you when I know it's not true?
And that's exactly like last week when we did our thing. That's what I was trying to explain to you. That's why I was trying to get that point about how women look at men and say men, but they don't. Black men don't share the same privileges as white men on hardly any level other than having a penis, basically.
Well, let me ask the question, Ray. Do you feel like Black men share any privilege? And if you don't have to answer this, if it's like, you don't have to answer this, but I'm asking the question.
Let's just say I have the right to not answer anything at any time. Okay, go ahead and ask the question.
Okay.
Be honest with the question so that way I can give an honest perspective answer.
Okay. Do you feel like there are any privileges being a Black man?
Period, or
that share the same privileges of being a white man? Is that a fair way to answer that question? Like, because there are definitely privileges of being white male, right? There are definitely privileges. I feel like there are privileges of being everything, but there are definitely ones that Black men don't have the same privilege that white men have in certain areas. Are there any that they do have the same privilege in?
On paper, it's like on paper, a lot of things make sense, but then you have like regular, life.
Heidi answered the question.
Hit you in the face, huh?
Heidi answered the question. You took too long.
I took too long?
No, Heidi. No, she said you gotta look at cameras.
Okay, there's a lot. Oh, yes, peeing standing up is definitely a privilege.
Heidi, Heidi.
Points.
But as far as being between a Caucasian male, man, however you want to determine that, however they want to identify between, like, say, me and another, Black dude in America, it's on paper. On paper, we have, quote unquote, the same rights and everything else, but or privileges, so to speak. But then you have to lend to the fact of where and when and how. I get yelled at about asking this question all the time. Who's the only person, and I can't give myself credit for this, literally my best friend who went to school on this type of subject matter, he brought it to my attention. He was just like, who is the only person that the Constitution has not been amended for? The Caucasian male.
It didn't have to be, though.
Doesn't have to be. So when and where did, privilege be given to somebody? Huh?
Let me put on my MAGA hat for a second. I'd argue, if I were a MAGA person, that it was altered when they decided to make certain people more than 3/5 and start making people whole. You affected our lives as the white man. You've affected our lives in the negative volume, and we've been affected. So I'd argue, like, we were talking about this not to be funny, but to be funny, right? Also respectful. But we were talking about this when we were talking about going to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We were talking about going to Oklahoma for the 100-year Tulsa anniversary for Tulsa bombing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go, but be clear, you're not the only one celebrating here.
Yeah, oh yeah, she did.
There's opposing side that's
that's why I rock
happy
with
in the event.
Yeah.
That's why I rock with you, Ray. That's why I rock with you.
There's
Okay.
opposing side. Yeah.
Everybody's celebrating something. And I'm just,
Somebody with a red hat's going, there's good people on both sides.
Yeah, the good people on both sides.
Did you want to say something else before I go back to more questions?
No, no, I mean, did he ask
I was
about
trying to relate it to the thing that, between privilege for a white male and a black male in America, on paper, yes, but when and where did that come about? I'm my grandmother-in-law, she just recently passed, but she was the first black female in the company that she worked in. And then she was the desegregating aspect of a lot of situations. But then you go literally down the road and there is literally a plantation with her last name up on the thing. And it's like, part of the privilege is I don't have to grow up with seeing my history on a billboard and knowing that it's coming from that aspect.
I agree.
And then I don't have to have it reminded to me inadvertently, intentionally, or unintentionally, throughout my entire life. I get to go through with this aspect that my race doesn't matter.
Except when we remind you of it. And so I think that was the part that was very problematic for some people because they're being reminded of something they never have to be reminded of. Whereas we have no choice but to deal with ours. I'd like to exist in a world where me being black doesn't matter. And maybe if I go to the continent of Africa, it won't.
Yeah, go your ass back to Africa.
Yeah.
I would recommend that people that like to travel get on Facebook or any other social media and join expats of another country group. I'm even in like black expats of ... because we travel and do everything else and it is what it is. So part of my privilege is I can, and here's another aspect of it. Part of my privilege is I can be socially, economically diverse, also known as poor as fuck, and then get accepted to a prestigious HBCU easily.
Yeah.
Like the only college there was two colleges I almost went to. One was the Air Force Academy and the other one was Alcorn. And that's because Alcorn was like, hey, come on in. I literally walked into the wrong door for scholarship opportunities while I was in Mississippi and was told, no, go ahead and sit down, fill out this paperwork and everything else. And it was like, yeah, you can go to Alcorn and pretty much be free. Like, what? All right.
You're a minority.
But at the same time, I was like, I didn't want to be around the same people with that same mindset because Alcorn's around the corner. Like all the people that I went to high school with were going to know me over there. I was like, nah, I'm good over here. Let me get the fuck out of this place.
Thus is my beef. And, I would, side note to Willie, like to have somebody from a pro HBCU to have an educated conversation regarding that because I am not, as a general rule, a pro HBCU.
Well, I know HBCU people, so
and that's not to say that I don't respect them in their, but I mean, like, I have questions, is what I'm going to say. I'm not anti, I'm not pro. Heidi
said, I argue that any privilege a black man shares with a white man is only potentiality to be reduced at any time via systematic discrimination and racial bias. So,
and that lends to what I was saying about the win aspect, because it's so recent. It's kind of like when you give a child a privilege and now all of a sudden they, you give them the inch, so to speak, and now they take a mile. Oh, no, now I got to take it back.
Take it back.
I mean, it's like, and it's kind of given in that aspect. I literally have been woken up at night. I call a few people brother. One of my brothers woke me up and was like, hey, you hungry? No, I was asleep. But why? I really want, he's craving some chicken nuggets from McDonald's, which is like 5 miles down the road. And where we were living at in Texas at the time, right outside of a military base, he was like, I really want some, but this is kind of like before Uber Eats and all these other options was kind of around, you know, he's like, you mind giving me a ride? Because the area we lived in, if he was to drive his car, he had a Crown Vic with larger rims. He's been predominantly pulled over for no reason. And then he's let go for no reason, you know, because there was no reason. He didn't have anything. He was literally post-military career going to college and playing basketball and focusing on getting a degree. Wasn't doing no drugs, wasn't doing nothing. It's, you know, he's just chilling and playing ball. He can't do anything because he's got to piss in the cup to be able to play ball. So he's literally living the straight line college student post-veteran life, but he's still being pulled over and targeted to the point that he wakes me up at 12 o'clock at night, like, hey, can we go get some chicken nuggets? Can you drive? Because I don't want to get pulled over.
He has to go through extra steps in order to feel like he's safe or, you know, do whatever.
Right. So we got chicken nuggets that night.
So the reason why you're a better person than me, I'd be like, aren't you black? Don't you know how sacrifice? Go to bed. Sorry.
Used to being hungry. Do you see the little flies flying around you? That's where you come from.
I didn't say that one, y'all. I didn't say that one. I did not say y'all are not gonna do 5 cents a day. I did not say that.
People don't know me. I had so many other jokes, but people don't know me.
We're not doing those. I was so much. Look, I'm a good person on this show.
All it takes is 5 cents a day, and you can feed an African country for a whole year.
I can't stand him. So one of the things. Let me ask you a question. One of the things that I noticed when we were last weekend when we were doing the podcast, you tried to step in and like de-escalate the situation when we were talking about the privilege that Black men have over Black women, and the idea that there is Black privilege, Black male privilege over Black women, and I didn't know if you tried to de-escalate for. Well, I did. I felt like you were trying to de-escalate for de-escalation value, but what is your position on that? When I say that just like white men are the white men to Black people, Black men are the white men to Black women.
Are you asking me, is there a difference in the privilege between Black women and Black men?
No, I'm asking you, when I make that statement, do you, because he disagrees with that.
I do.
He disagrees with that statement.
Yes, I do.
What are your thoughts on that statement? Because I noticed that you did. The only reason why I bring you into it, because you tried to de-escalate, and I don't believe in that. I believe we need to talk about this shit. Because it's not like me having that discussion with him last week means nothing about how I feel about him. He's still my brother. I still love him. And he still disagrees with me.
And I still got a penis at the end of the day. So
yeah.
I do believe that there is a privilege for the Black male over the Black female in America specifically.
Okay.
And that's based on, and understand this, it's based on, and let me get the whole thing out though, okay? It's based on reality. And the reality by definition is the exposure of what your world is. So for the exposure of what I've had, that is what my reality is. Now, does that mean that's every reality? Does that mean that that is truth? Because reality doesn't necessarily mean truth. So my reality is that Black men have had have a privilege over Black women. And example, my reality, I see it just, for example, in the military, I see numerous, at this point in the world, numerous Black male senior leadership on both sides of the aspect of the world for us in the enlisted and the officer side. The Marine Corps literally just nominated their first 2 Black female generals ever. We're talking about ever. But there have been numerous Black male generals. So it's just, again, my reality and from my world exposure lends to this aspect that this is my reality.
So hearing what he said, how do you feel about that?
Okay, and that's military. I mean, I've never been in the military, so I can't even comment on that.
But you can comment on what he said.
No.
Let me link to it now. I'm in the corporate world now, and I have Black male leadership within companies, and I still have yet to see or be made. And here's another aspect. I can run into Black female leadership in the civilian world who do not like lead with their title so much, but the Black male is able to, whereas the Black female, if she does, she's seen as extremely aggressive, title hungry. Example, my wife, she comes up with the same ideas and all these other things, but when somebody else comes up with an idea, they dismiss it. But when somebody else comes up with the idea, same exact idea, and she's like, hold up, I just said this. Oh, no, you're the bitch, you're angry, you're all these other stereotypes, but it's associated. Why?
Okay.
Unexplainable justification. So they can't tell her why.
I agree with that aspect. If we're talking about business wise, we're talking about those situations business wise, right? I wasn't talking about it. I'm talking about
that's just started. That's just
okay. I mean,
if it exists in his world.
Okay. But that's his world.
I know, but what about my world?
Okay. So
as a Black woman, what about my world?
Go ahead. Okay. Say what you got to say in your world.
No,
then.
but I'm just saying.
No,
like,
what
and
are
I'm
you
not
talking? What's
saying
your
it
point?
from and keep in mind, I'll come from a privileged position too, because I grew up under Black guys, right? Yes. So everything I learned from y'all. So I was protected from that, but I still was affected by it, right? And so when I say that, I say like my main example, I never experienced, but I watch other people experience, right? The knockdown, how men see their penis as the savior and the thing you should be ashamed of. Like I was on Clubhouse and this he's a Black boy talking about how he felt disrespected because this guy came up to his girl and was talking to his girl and she was smiling in his face. So what he did is he fucked her and then he put her out the next day. She sucked my dick, man, and then I put her out. So she felt stupid. I'm like, why? And then the people now this is one person, but the people on there was like, yo, she's a hoe. She's this. For what? What did she do?
Okay.
We're not held and no offense to anybody else who represents any other community. Black women are held to a higher standard when it comes to sex that white women aren't, Latin women aren't, like the other women aren't held to. We're hoes for putting shit out there, but they're just free. They're liberated. And the people who hold us down are the people that look like us but have penises.
I disagree. The most people that talk about other women are other women.
I didn't say that women don't talk about women. I say that, but I say there's an origin story to that has to do with the male perception. Society pushes that narrative. So women we have to exist under a certain thing. It's no different. If you change it from Black to female, it's the same situation. We have to exist under something that's created by the oppressors, and the oppressors for us are Black men.
So, okay. So you finish your point. Okay. So my point is that if we're going to talk about systematic and what happened in oppression and all that other stuff, Black men have always been oppressed in their views. They haven't had the same privilege to speak their views. Let's talk about slavery, right? The mother would not let the son say anything because of the fear of him dying. It's always been a threat of a Black man when he speaks or he says anything or he shows any kind of emotion that he was going to get killed. So we have always been oppressed. And that's what I was speaking on. I was speaking on the fact that we don't have the same privileges. A Black man has always been underneath a Black woman when it's come to hearing what they got to say, right?
Yes, I agree.
And that's what I was trying to.
I would agree with that statement.
That's what I was de-escalating last week. That y'all were speaking truths in different areas.
In different areas, yeah. I'm talking about just so. Let me tell you exactly what I'm talking about. The right to even speak what I have to say, right? Any Black man to say what he have to say is a right that's given to any man in this country, right? It's a constitutional right that a Black man gets shitted on basically if he says what he have to say. That has nothing to do with talking about a woman for what she does with her body. I understand that happens. But the thing is, what I'm talking about is just a right given to everybody, but a Black man is not afforded to. That's what I'm talking about.
But understand, I'm talking about a right that's given to everybody too.
But your situation, your issue is not against Black men, though.
Y'all are speaking on apples and oranges.
Yeah, yeah,
but when I started the conversation, I started on apples. He went to oranges.
No.
Yeah, because I was just saying, I made the statement
There's
last
nothing wrong with that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's understanding. If we're going to hear each other, you have to hear each other. And I started the conversation.
I hear you.
See, that's why you got a black wife. That's why. But see, that's what's happening. What's happening. Toby come along. He said, Bonshika, I hear you. Come here. Lay your weave on my shoulder. Yeah. It's like, don't worry about Jacqueline. Okay.
I hear him too. I understand.
But this is the thing, right? Her issue. But her issue is not just with black men, and that's what I'm trying to you understand, right? The issue that
you feel like
no, it's not just with black men. You're talking about society. We're talking about what white women do with black. We're talking about
but this based on the perception of black men, though.
No, it didn't start with us. No, you keep saying black men. It never started with black men. It doesn't. We don't run shit in this country. We never ran shit in this country.
Who runs the church?
Who started the church? Come on, who started the church?
I want to point this out to the community. I want to point this out to people watching it. What did he say when I asked the direct question?
Okay, and I gave you an answer. No, I gave you an answer. Who you said who runs the church? What is my answer?
What's my answer to that?
My answer. Who started the system? What are you talking about? Because white people run the church too.
Simple question.
White people run churches too. So what are we talking about? Question. No, it's not simple. It's not simple.
Who runs the
you added something to it.
We're talking about. I can only speak from the black perspective.
Who runs the church?
I don't even go to church anymore.
Who runs the church?
Let's be clear. I don't go to church anymore. So if I mess up and say whatever, but I'm talking about who runs black church? Is it the black woman or the black man?
No, it's the black man.
Okay, so if we talk about hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
If we talk about the world, right? We're talking about macro, micro here. Mm-hmm. I'm saying micro. On a micro level, when it comes to issues that affect the black community, who has more say in that? The black woman or the black man?
The black woman. You know why? Because people listen to y'all more.
You keep talking about listening, but the black man.
Okay, how can we express? I'm expressing something to Ray, right? Mm-hmm. If he never hears what I have to say, how can I get his point across? How can he hear me and get to understand what's going on if I get shut down from the jump, right? Who runs, if we can't communicate, who runs shit then?
Okay, let's be clear.
Who runs shit if you can't communicate?
Let's be clear.
Oh, bullshit.
All right.
Bullshit.
Men don't listen to women.
Bullshit. Who's the first teacher of a man? Who's the first teacher of a man?
Why are you calling Ray in this?
Mom.
Who's the first teacher?
Mom.
Mother is the first teacher. So innately, a man is going to, now he might not act upon it, but he hears when a woman says shit, right? Even in a relationship, he might not act upon a lot of shit, but he hears it. It holds a weight with him.
Ray, since
micro and macro.
Since we're pulling you into stuff, when is a man most likely to listen to another man or a woman? In general.
Like old people underwear, it depends.
I don't want to talk to you. No, but in general, as a general rule of thumb, who's more likely to listen to? Like, if a man's telling another man, "Hey, dude, yeah," or a woman's telling a man,
that would lend to the type of man you're talking about,
and the topic.
Right. So, but also, what I'm getting to is who that person surrounds them by. Like, I typically surround myself by other men, so I'm going to listen to other men.
Thank you, Heidi.
And that's Heidi. Look, okay. That's Heidi's. That's Heidi's perception.
Ignoring the fact that we just did a podcast. It was a podcast where we had men on there, and the men were sitting there like vying off of each other. But when the females came on, nobody was listening.
What are you talking? Which one are you talking about?
What I'm talking about with
I didn't see that one either.
No, who wasn't listening? I took the men off. I put the men off. Okay, that's one situation. And he was trying to explain to you once again. You didn't let him talk. Once again, that's a perfect example.
About him
I'm not talking to you, Eric. I'm not talking to you, Eric. I'm not talking to you.
You know why? Because I said Willie.
Oh, and that's true. But
so
still,
how do you prop him up in the same time and say he's wrong?
No, I didn't say he was right. I never did. I say right? No, I didn't.
Didn't you just say that?
I never said he was right.
You said I wasn't listening to him. That implied I was wrong.
No, I didn't say right or wrong. It's not a right or wrong thing. It wasn't a right or wrong thing.
Was I talking to him?
Okay. Was he there on the screen with
I
us?
Talking to him?
Was he in my?
But was I?
No, he wasn't. And you said it several times.
That I wasn't talking
I told him just I told him
So why am I supposed to listen to somebody I wasn't talking to?
Okay. You don't have to. You don't.
But
have
you
to do
just
anything.
said I don't listen.
You don't.
But it had nothing.
I
to do
said
with him.
you didn't listen to him.
I don't want to listen to him because I wasn't talking to him.
Okay.
I was talking to the person that I was talking to.
But Nicole, what was your initial point on that?
My point is, how can I got on there to tell you something, and he kept jumping in.
Okay.
And first off,
you say who he would listen. No, your initial point was who would he listen to? Who was listening to who? Right? Nobody listened to women got on there. That was your initial point.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
That was no, he would listen because he was replying.
No, he
okay,
didn't.
how can he? So did he?
We should play that again. We should play.
Yes, we should because he was in. Okay, so if he wasn't listening, he would have tried to shut you up. He never did that. He never did that.
That's not. There's passive listening, not listening, and there's active not listening.
He heard you and he was replying to you.
There's passive not listening and there's active not listening.
Okay.
But one day we're gonna play that. We're gonna play those.
But I'm telling you, he waited till you stopped what you were saying and he imparted his part of it. And you said, "I'm not talking to you." You was I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. And he was like, what I think he was saying his piece of it, what I think was going on. This is what he said. What I think was going on was this. I'm not talking to you, Eric. I'm not talking to you, Eric. I'm talking to my brother.
To this day, I still say I didn't give a shit what he thought.
Okay.
I was talking to you, but he wanted to, and you wanted to put his stuff in. That's fine. But if he was really listening, he would have shut the fuck up and let me talk to you.
Be a man. Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up.
You put your narrative on it.
Shut the fuck up.
You see how he put his narrative? Did I say that?
Yes, you did. You just said
what
that.
Did I just say? If he was listening to me, he would have heard me say that. No, if he was listening to me, he would have heard me say, "Willie, I'm asking Willie a question," and then he would have said, "Shut the fuck." He would have shut the fuck up. Okay. Not because he's a man. And my problem with this is that you sit and being a man so tough, you can't even understand the difference. Like for me, I don't sit and being a woman. I'm just Nicole.
Okay.
But I said specifically to him, Willie, this is the situation. Willie, I'm asking you a question. And he kept interjecting things. And I'm like, I'm not talking to you. So if he really was listening to what I was saying, he would have heard I was talking to my brother.
Okay.
How is that me telling a black man to shut the fuck up? As opposed to I'm trying to find an answer for my brother and hold my brother accountable.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I did.
I feel like that was unfair to me. What you just said. You just said I just told him to shut the fuck up.
You said it. You came out your mouth first.
You said black man shut the fuck up.
But
it had nothing to do with that.
Nicole, you literally said.
No, I didn't say it. But I didn't say what he said.
During that day, you didn't say that.
Shut the fuck up.
But in the concept of where we were speaking right here, you told him.
Yes, I was speaking to the concept of
it. To do.
I did not say black man shut the fuck up, as in
no,
black
you said he. You said he.
I said Eric.
You said he. Yeah, he needed to shut the fuck up.
So how is you see the narrative and how it changes?
It didn't change.
I don't change.
I didn't change the narrative.
You did. You said I was saying that black men shut the fuck up.
That is how he interpreted it.
Exactly.
No, that's not even how I interpreted it. I was speaking. No, that's not how I interpreted it. What I was speaking
she did say he needed to shut the fuck up.
No,
that is a singular.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yes, I'm saying I didn't interpret that way. I was just saying that's how people look at it, right? Yes, it's black man shut the fuck up. Basically, that's what in the context we were talking about, right?
In the context, that can't be taken like that. In the context
we was talking about, I was just saying that's what it sounded like. In the context we was just saying that I just said, right? People tell black men they don't want to hear what he got to say.
Oh, what you're saying is that's not how you meant it, but you meant it singularly to him.
I said what I said. You heard what I said. He said something. He changed the terms.
I'm clarifying. You said
all I know is you said exactly what I said.
Eric, right?
Yeah, Eric. Yeah. Eric.
Eric needed to shut the fuck up.
And that's what she said. And I heard her say that, but I imparted what people would hear.
We're good.
Okay, I mean,
it is. I can't speak. I'm not going to take the mantle for anybody else. I'm not going to take the mantle and say I'm speaking. If you black men got hit with that, feel the burn. That's not my problem. I'm not going to do that. But what I know I said Eric could have shut the fuck up because I was talking to my brother. That's what I said.
How many times I say she told Eric whatever, and I told him? How many times I say that prior to saying that last thing? I said it a few times. But you also, in between those things, you also filtered in a statement of, I wasn't listening to him.
Yeah. You filtered that in.
Yeah, because.
Why should I listen to him?
Nicole. Nicole.
No, I'm just
Don't we all have a voice, right? Don't we have all a voice?
But why should I listen to him?
Okay,
I was
you don't
talking to
have
you.
to. You don't have to. You don't have to.
What was the original question?
You don't have to. It went off on some tangent, but you don't have to.
My whole point
my initial point, right? My initial point was saying that this is what happens into society. That's why I put that in there. But this is what happens every time a man tries to say what he say. A black man tries to say what he got to say. It's like, shut the fuck up. That's why I was saying, like, we don't want to hear what you got to say. This has been happening since the 80s. Since the 80s, they haven't been listening to black men. It's like, okay, Oprah, all these other talk shows been like, okay, black men is black men of that, and society sees black men through the lens of what black women say.
Really?
Yep.
I got a question for him.
Yep.
This is an eye-opening kind of thing too.
Let's go.
Non-sports related. When has a black male been put on a pedestal for his opinion?
They don't. They rarely do, unless
they
rarely do. They rarely do. But majority of the time when he does, he has to be echoing what the society already believes, or he has to be echoing what women already believe. Because women, we just talked about this earlier in my earlier podcast, right? The reason why that happens is because women buy majority of shit in this country. The way TV works is because they want to sell you shit. So they're going to put stuff.
Consumership.
Do what?
Based on consumership.
Based on consumership. Who buys more stuff in this country?
Women.
Who spends more money? Women. So we're going to cater to women. So we don't want to hear what the man has to say. And anything that a woman views in a certain way, they're going to keep on pushing that to you because they want you to buy stuff. They want to pay for the commercials. Commercials pay for the TV viewing, pay for the shows. And that's how it gets in this big cycle that nobody hears nobody because they don't want to understand how this shit works.
I hear you. But that's the macro effect. I say there's a micro effect. And in the micro effect, the black man is the white man of the black woman. That's the micro effect.
Okay, I'm going to agree with you if she has a man in her life, and we know majority of black women
have a man and a wife.
No.
I mean, because what is that? The absence of a man still holds something.
Nicole, you can't blame a man if she doesn't choose to have a man in her life. You cannot blame a man
I'm not
for
saying not choose. I'm thinking from the daughter's standpoint. I'm not talking about a woman choosing not to. Like a grown person is a grown person. That's what it is.
Okay, I'm talking about grown people. I'm not talking about.
A grown person having. A man. I'm saying a man. I'm not thinking man like man. I'm thinking like father figure. I'm thinking like community is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from a community standpoint. I'm not talking about relationships.
Okay,
I'm talking about community.
Okay, now restate your point.
I'm saying that the black man is the white man of the black woman from a community standpoint. I've never talked about it from a relationship. It's not because I don't have any ill will towards relationships.
I can't see that.
Nigga,
from
I'm
a
G. See, it made me tense. I'm a G in this world. I run shit. Okay. All right. When relationships, I ain't never had no problems.
So I need to understand it from a community standpoint.
From a community standpoint, meaning like you're like boys will be boys. Men are propped up. Now, granted, I'm using statements that are slogans used by
white men. That's used by white men.
But I'm saying in general, though, who's allowed to play outside today?
Okay, so
who had to
once again, Nicole, let's go back.
Why are the males allowed to play outside and the females not?
Because the women, anything could happen to us.
So do you think that's a black man thing? Do
you think that's a male thing? Or do you think that's keeping my offspring from predators thing?
That's what it is.
No, I don't deny it, but I'm still saying there's a difference, right? There's a difference.
There's a difference, but then
for me, you walk out the world in a different level of safety. I'm not saying you don't feel safe, but you have a different level of safety than I do as a black female, or I should.
Because there are less people that want to violently fuck this.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I totally agree
there are more people that want to violently fuck that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But what I'm saying is that it's not.
The part is at all ages that applies. Unfortunately.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is
she has to stay inside.
Okay, and I agree with that. But that is not a black man. That is not specific to black men. That is not that. If we want to look at majority,
the Caucasian side as well.
Say it again.
Yes, but I can't.
That's on the Caucasian side as well. Like I specifically remember the boys being able to go play more. And it was almost like, oh wow, Danielle can come out. And I specifically remember Kelly never being allowed to come out. The only time we saw Kelly was when she went to school. and she lived in the house and she wasn't allowed to leave her yard. We had to go to her yard to be able to go play with Kelly. You know, like that was the male-female aspect. That her father was like, I ain't playing that. Nope.
And not only about the rape either, but also because the woman could get pregnant, the little girl could get pregnant.
That's the other thing I was gonna say.
That's the next part of it, but that has nothing to do with black men in that aspect. It has nothing to do with us.
I didn't say that it's your fault. You keep a line in fault. What I'm saying is, in the micro community, I'm like, you keep aligning stuff that I'm not saying.
Okay,
all I'm saying in a micro, the only community I know is New Orleans growing up. It wasn't until I left there. So in New Orleans, the world looked like black to me.
Okay.
And so if the world looked black to me, then the people who were running things, the people who were oppressing things were the people who looked like black men. That's it.
Not New Orleans. That's not the truth.
Not
New Orleans.
No,
but growing up. You just said growing up. You say growing up. I'm telling you what the facts are.
My facts are my facts. You don't get to change my facts.
No.
Because
remember when I told you reality doesn't always mean absolute truth.
And I agree. So the thing is, I'm trying to correct you on the facts. That's what I'm trying.
I'm also letting you know, if it doesn't equal absolute truth, then it also doesn't mean absolute truth for you.
No, I could look up who was when you was growing up. I could look up every mayor, every governor when you was growing up.
That's not the people.
That's the facts. Why is not?
Because the people who make the decisions are the money people. Who had the money?
Okay. Let's talk about that then. New Orleans is more Italian mobster type stuff. That's who had the money. If you want to talk about that
from a micro standpoint.
From a micro standpoint, okay, who had the money in your mind? In your mind, who had the money?
You don't want to hear it.
No,
But you don't want to hear it. All I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to make a point.
And I'm making a point on this also.
No, you're not, because you're not trying to hear what I'm trying to say. Because if my experience is my truth, and I'm telling you, if you're trying to understand what the disparaging situation, like this is the problem I have, people. I'm just saying this to the community. This is the problem. We can't get white people to understand their position and stuff because they're too busy sitting in their position instead of saying, well, you know what? Because understand, the white people see the world differently than you do too. And there's a reality and a fact that exists there too. But for you to understand and appreciate what other people are saying, you got to take yourself out of what you feel to be true and join them in their fuckery. Even if you believe it's fuckery.
I can't do that. You know why?
Then you're never gonna.
I'm asking you a question, and what you're telling me is something that you don't have. So, okay, you telling me how you feel, right? I want to know.
I'm not telling you how I feel. I'm telling you what I saw.
No, okay. And I asked you. I also asked you who is the person? Who's the person?
Do you know every time I've been sexually assaulted in New Orleans was by a black man?
And I understand.
Do you know every single time that happened where I went to somebody who was in a position of power to assist me, it was a black man that told me that I need to let it go.
Did you come to me?
So why are you missing the point?
No, I'm not missing the point. I'm going to acknowledge your point. I'm going to acknowledge your point. But I'm your older brother, so if you want to come to somebody that's going to do something about it, you know who the fuck to come to.
That's not going to you protected you.
Say it again.
Her not going to you protected you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Why did it protect?
There are certain things that, you know, like if you bring something to me, I have a certain capacity and skill set to do certain things, not to go.
But that's what I'm trying to say. I agree what you're saying, right? I'm not dismissing what you're saying. I agree what you're saying. I hear that you said that people you told didn't do nothing about it. That's a whole separate. Okay, I agree with you.
But if
I agree with you, right?
Power dynamic. I understand. Look, you're my brother. I've never said anything. I've always tried to be fair, but I also said I've always had you on a pedestal. But that being said, you're not. You like at the end of the day, you can end up in jail. You can end up dead. And who's gonna protect? Like that to me, honestly, this whole scenario that just happened is like an example of black women and black men. Black women do so much to try to protect black men that they don't even see it. Okay. They don't even see it. Why would I tell you that? Why would you would have shot him?
Okay, yes, I would have. Yes, I would have. And that would have been
my brother.
That would have been, to me, that would have been justifiable.
I get it, but I wouldn't have had my brother. Don't get me wrong. I get it. If something happened to my nieces, thug life.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. But you can't have the same. You can't have different. And this is the thing. You can't have different standards for yourself. And and that's what it seems like.
I'm not. Okay. You're taking this personally when I say this from a micro. What I'm saying is, if you're not the rule, you're the exception.
Okay, and
I've always felt that I had a problem with you regarding that because you see yourself as a rule. When I say that I've seen these people do this stuff and they look like black men, I'm not saying I see you in that picture. I'm saying, as a general rule, if we're talking about oppression, oppression to me looks like the black man on the black woman. Not talking about sex, not talking about relationships and marriages. Because if that's the case, women be wearing black men out. I get it.
And that's where I was coming from. I was coming from that aspect on a micro, on that aspect, right?
But I don't think like that. I don't care about marriage. I'm sorry.
Okay, see, and
sorry, married people.
Yeah, see, and
I don't care about marriage.
See, that's what it is.
I think it's dope that people choose
it's
to
dope
stay
for
together.
you. It's dope for you.
But for me, there are bigger problems that exist in the world. So if a married couple can't work it out, that's a personal problem between those two people.
True.
I try to see beyond that situation. That's what I mean when I say I don't care about married people, because I feel like that's their personal world. Whereas I'm talking about black in general, it looks like it looks like protection, like black women protecting men by hook or by crook, by any means necessary. It looks like black women selling themselves to make sure that children eat, and then not holding their fathers accountable by taking them to court, or these are the stories that the community have. It looks like the black woman getting hooked on drugs and selling her children. Like this is a part of the thread of the story, but for us to get to the thread of the story, we have to acknowledge there are some truths that exist to be had. And I'm not saying that black men should feel shitty about being black men, no more than I'm saying white people should feel shitty about being white. Y'all drew the best card. Bully for y'all. But at the same point, there are benefits to all of them. And we have to identify those benefits so we can say, all right, these are the truths.
So that's your micro. And what I'm speaking on, right, when you talk about what you're talking about, is that I'm taking it outside of Nicole. And I'm talking about what it looks like for other people, other men, because I mean, yeah, we're sitting on a public platform, but that public platform doesn't know you who you are, anything dealing with you. But
not every story is my story.
And I get that.
So these are the stories I hear from the community.
Okay.
No different than the stories I hear from the community when it comes to relationships and those kind of things or whatever. These are the stories I hear from the community that happen to be black women.
So, okay. So, and like I said, I'm not dismissing what you're saying. What I'm going to say is that proximity matters, right?
Yeah, of course.
Proximity matters. That's what I'm going to say with that. So,
so what you're saying is proximity, as opposed to what I see and I'm associating to be black men, is actually not. It's just the fact that proximity means that I see black people, that it becomes my world, as opposed to the reality of the situation that it's just a male thing.
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Because the proximity of in a micro, we only know proximity, right? We only know that in a micro. And we walk around with that like this is what the world is going on. This is what's going on with everybody, right? Let's take it bigger, right? Once we get out, because we're not in that no more. We didn't have the luxury of what people have now, right? The privilege of everything happening split second, about on social media, or people sharing information on social media, right? We have that now, right? So in today's society,
there's no proximity.
There's no proximity anymore. It's wide ass open.
So we can see a little clearer about the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what
I will lend credence to that statement.
Okay.
I will lend credence that what I see as the black men, the oppressors of black women, may just be the fact that because my view was limited in that point, it could have also been white men doing that to me too. I just wasn't able to get to them.
You wasn't, you was never around them. If you was around them, then it probably would happen. Because people do shitty shit. Men do shitty shit to women, right?
Yeah.
All day long, right? But it's a certain type of man. It doesn't have to do with being a black man or being a white man or whatever. Men do shitty shit. You got Mexicans, you got whatever. You got all kind of
why'd you have to stop at Mexicans?
Okay, well, you have Asians, you have Indians, the dots and the damn turbans. I'm sorry, y'all. Don't cancel me. Anyway, like I said, men do shitty shit to women, right? That is something, that's not the privilege I was talking about. I'm talking about, once again, the fact that you have your own body and you're supposed to control, you have control, not you're supposed to, you have control of what you do with your body is something that It's supposed to happen, right? It's supposed to happen. Somebody violating that is something totally different. That's something on that person, not on the whole damn black men community, right? That's that person being shitty. What I'm talking about is something that is done that is supposed to be given to everybody, a voice that's supposed to be heard, to where it's like, no, we don't want to hear what you got to say. No, micro and macro. I'm not
But I
just
don't
talking about.
disagree with you on that.
I got a little input on that changes that, unfortunately. It's correct but incorrect.
Okay, good.
It's on that person
Mhm.
when it happens like that. Unfortunately, it becomes community when she takes it to a community leader.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
And
Yeah,
get the same shitty response from a shitty leader.
yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
I was going to touch on that, but I wanted to make sure he understood that I've never disagreed with him about the voice.
Yeah, no.
I've never disagreed with you about the voice, and
It becomes a community issue when she brings it to a community leader.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah,
and then they vilify.
Okay.
Because they do it
and
so
then
well.
It becomes, that the vilify process isn't unique to any one demographic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The military is in the news right because of the stuff that's been going on at Fort Hood, and it's
Hispanic women over there getting missing and dying and stuff.
It's not just Hispanic women. It's
stuff on his page all the time.
Yeah, I post and share stuff about military related issues all the time. At one point, I was I still a Googleable person when it comes to Fort Hood issues, because how I got caught up in the mass shooting in Fort Hood back in 2014. So I'm a survivor of that shooting. It's like Fort Hood is just a black hole of Texas, man. Nobody likes that place. It fucking sucks. But neither here nor there, the aspect of the vilifying of women, specifically victims, and I can't even say women because we recently had a male who, LGBT community. I'm probably missing some letters in there. I apologize. I just don't know. There's always a new letter, and I don't know. But he's a gay dude, and the community of the military, we're not as progressive as the world, so to speak, and it's still socially acceptable to put a thumb on that community within certain closed doors. What the Black community knows as a good old boy system has a heterosexual good old boy system as well within the military. And he came up lost and came up dead. And they found him recently, this is within the last few months, so it's not, I can't even not say just women. It's standardized of turning the victim into, the bad person. And the media does it to the Black community all the time. And if I was to go, and I'm not, but if I was to go perform, a bad shooting type situation, they're gonna go find a picture of me with a tie on or my military uniform, and he did all these great things, and something happened. But then, if you go do the same exact thing, they're going to go find the worst picture of you that they can find, the most compromising, picture that they can put it, and then that's the picture they're going to use for you. Right.
Gang signs throwing and everything.
It ain't going to be Starbucks in your hand. You know what I mean?
Nah.
I saw, it was a long time ago. I saw it was a situation that happened with a Black man, and they were like, look at him throwing up gang signs, but he was in a Greek organization. So it was just,
he throwing up cues and everything.
Yeah, he was just throwing up
his hooks, throwing up his hooks, and his gang signs.
Like gang stuff. But so this got way off topic, but not really.
No, I can't. Yeah, still privilege.
Well, not really about privilege, but because my question is, how do we get to a point, Ray, where we're able to have a conversation with the biggest demographic of I'm gonna make this statement, you clarify. I'm into politics, but I'm still able to say that there's stuff I need to learn. I feel like the biggest demographic that Trump had was the white poor community, right? And I think the biggest demographic that racist organizations have are the white poor community. And I feel like they've been misled in a lot of their, I feel like there's a lot of people who are part of the KKK and the nationalists and the Nazi and stuff who aren't bad people, who just got put in a spectrum, area where they only saw what they saw in their lens.
Okay.
You
want to know how this works?
Go.
All right. So I'm gonna use, and I know they're nowhere near the same, but I'm using one side to parallel another side to explain. So I'm not comparing. Okay. But when you look at an organization like the Crips or the Bloods, who do they target to be members?
The community.
The youth. In the
youth that come from socially, economically diverse poor individuals. The other side of the organizations that you just listed, the KKK and all these, who do they target? It's the same aspect. It's the same style. It's
same
the
concept.
So again, but there's no comparison because one is a racist organization, a hate group, so to speak. One is the, joining for the other aspects. But both entities that are joining both entities, as in the individuals are joining those organizations, are doing it. Why? Because they needed something, because they were lacking a lot.
Okay.
So how can we get to those individuals? Earlier, I said, you have to wait for the opportunities for those individuals to have moments of clarity when their wall comes down. And typically speaking, the only time the wall comes down is when something matters to them. I've lost friends. I ain't going to say friends because I've lost acquaintances and people that I've known for years because I have spoke on the Black Lives Matter movement, not organization. There's a difference between movement and organization. Just because an organization says something doesn't mean the movement agrees or aligns. So I've spoke on the ideology, early BLM type of concepts, and then I was met with the All Lives Matter, rhetorical aspects and stuff like that. Later on, I'm that guy when they said, please pray for my nephew who died because of such and such, such and such. And I would go on there and be like, I'm sorry, but all lives matter. I'm not praying for your nephew. And while you laugh, it's not until they care that they understand.
Yeah.
And then I get blocked and deleted and told that I'm a horrible person and everything else. But you know what?
Cold world.
I'm calling you on your own shit. All lives matter at all times then, right? Or is it only when it matters to you that you want to talk about this one particular situation? But, so I've lost people in that situation.
I got an answer for that also about the how do we combat that?
But how do you combat it though? Yeah, you get to when it matters to them to talk about it at that point.
And then you hit them with an uppercut.
Yeah, but the thing is, birds of a feather flock together. If they had that moment of clarity, so to speak, then there are other people like them around them. There's going to be more that are not, but you can pick up a couple pieces here and there. And it's not going to take, shit. When was the first time that we saw police brutality like on camera that you can remember?
It was 92.
You remember?
Right.
That?
92.
It was
92.
California.
King.
Yeah.
Rodney King, right? But however, what was the twist on everything? So you literally talking, 02, 10 years, 12, 20 years, damn near 30 years it took for the camera to literally be seeing somebody being beaten to the point that they almost die, to the point that you see a cop literally put his knee on somebody's neck as he's begging for his deceased mother. 30 years almost for individuals to finally get the momentum that we're at now. So it's going to take time, and it takes people to care individually. And how do you get people to care individually in mass forms? Unfortunately, you don't. The biggest assistance to society has been the fact that we put a camera in everybody's fucking hand. because there's so many people who are trained to be good without here's what happened. A lot of people were trained to be good and weren't told to be good only to
their own people.
All of a sudden you see violence and you can hear the distress and you can hear and it upsets them. The average person doesn't work in a world of violence or revolve around a world of violence. So unfortunately, I can watch a video and have no emotional, I can detach emotionally because I've had to work in violence, specifically around it, in it, inflicting it, and then fixing it as a medic. You know what I mean? So I have a different aspect of it, but the average person who doesn't work around it, when they see it, it's like shock and awe. They can't believe that this just happened. Now, all of a sudden, here it is. Do they care personally? No, they care. But guess what you can do now? Swipe up, keep on scrolling. So it's not until you can make people aware, but until you make somebody actually care, that's when you actually get them on board.
So I have a way to combat it, and personally, it's right. I mean, everybody has to do their own personal thing, but I think in this country, and I've said this many times, and I've heard other people say it, but we need to change the history books. We need to start off because you have to reach the kids at their most impressionable time, right?
Oh, can I intervene? I apologize because I think what we say matters.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say change history books, I think that's a wrong statement. I think we need to expand the history books.
Well, there's lies in the history book though, so I think some of
that's part of expansion.
Okay, go. Okay.
So, because if the moment you say change history books to the average person who's got a wall up, you're not getting anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you're saying.
And that's what I was meaning by.
From every point, they're gonna reject that idea because I'm saying change. So
expand.
So let's, for better words, expand the history book to include everything that happened in America that happened to Americans, which is Black people, because Black people are excluded like they aren't Americans. So
What just happened?
I don't know. My computer does that, but it doesn't happen here. It just happens there.
Okay, sorry.
But it started last week. But so expand.
LimeWire, man.
Yeah, LimeWire. So yeah, expand the history books to reflect exactly what happened in history, and that way, we can't do anything but personally for the people that are already grown, but the kids that are coming up, they can reach the parents, because if they got homework on it, right, nobody wants to see their child fail. So it's going to end up, now I don't know about what racists don't do. I don't know what the racists, but they're going to definitely do that. They're going to fight against it. But the thing is, if a child has to learn something, they're going to talk to their parent. No, mama, that's not right. No, dad, that's not right. This would happen, whatever. This is the truth. This is what we learned in history. And from the children, it would spread. Because eventually these older racist men, these older racist people, go ahead.
He said
they're gonna die off.
Yeah, they're gonna die off. Yeah, die off. So we have to start right now, getting what's going on right now to where we could see 30 years from now, it'll be a change. 20-something years from now, it'll be a change.
I mean, those sound like good ideas, both of y'all said, but I think I have the best idea.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think that Black.
Okay, woman privilege. Go ahead.
Yeah. Both y'all men, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
both shut the
fuck up. Yeah. So stupid. I think that y'all are so stupid. I don't know why this is funny to me when I see people do this.
Because you think about their feet back there kicking.
Yes,
Like he look at his feet could be back behind him kicking right now.
I think that Black people, every Black person in the world needs to adopt a white child. Therefore, you can do what the Mormons are doing with the Black kids.
Yeah.
And they are.
Everybody needs to carry.
So I'm gonna tell you what's going on.
Anita Love. You remember Anita Love?
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen wrong with that. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna end up happening that's wrong. That's just fucked up.
Because once they learn how to do cornrows, it's all over.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you how fucked up that's gonna be, right? Black people gonna adopt the white kids, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're gonna use their credit. They got 800 born. They born 800 credit. So Black people gonna be riding them some good shit.
My wife, she swears we got married and her credit got worse. She's like, "How did I pick the one white dude with bad credit? What the fuck is this shit?"
You failed a lottery, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
Damn it.
What's his middle name? If his middle name is Jabbar, that's the problem.
Yeah.
He got fooled.
No, you know why? Because he has a Mexican last name. That's what it is.
No,
Damn it.
Italian.
I wasn't born with that one.
But you got it now. So
you got it.
You got
no, but as soon as you got the name, it tanked.
What if we find out? What if we find out? Like, okay, so to be fair, like, so I used to, because code switching is a thing.
Yeah, code switching.
I used to, true story, change my resume and take my first name off of it and just use my middle name, so I can get more interviews.
Your middle
name is white. My middle
is
name
white.
Regina.
It's white.
It's Regina. It's white.
Maybe it is.
It's very white.
Yeah,
it's the whitest of white.
Yeah.
So with that, have y'all ever heard of the book Freakonomics?
Yes.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
So that book lends to it has an entire chapter based on name processes. It's an amazing book. It's an amazing book. But that book also lends to a conversation video thing that I saw the other week between these two coworkers, who one white guy, the other white female. He thought that he was predominantly like just superior as a worker compared to her. And this is him sharing his experience. And what ended up happening, he was like, it would take him or take her almost twice as much time to accomplish the same amount of tasks in dealing in customer service aspects than it did him. And then one day they were working on a group, like text mail, email type situation for this one project. And he was getting a lot of resistance from this one person and he didn't understand why. And it was like after about 8 or 9 emails that he realized that the bottom of his thing was being signed as Nicole. So he started a whole new thread of, hey, it's me, Jason, or whatever his name was, like, hey, let's work on this. And he had, like, as soon as he inserted his new name and started trying to get the guy to do the same thing that he was trying to get him to do before, he was immediately met with no resistance. We're on board. Let's do this. So what they did was for 30 days, I think it was 1 month or 30 days period of time, they swapped names just to see how it would go. And she was able to outperform him by almost 2 to 3 times as he was able to. And he was like, here I was working in this corporate world thinking that I was just superior to her. And I didn't realize that I was handed an invisible gift.
Yeah, the privilege, because you had a visible privilege. Yeah.
And it's it's a gift that they didn't know that they were giving them either.
If I ever, and I joked about this, and it's funny that I'm almost 40. I ain't pull out king and all this. I ain't having no kids. But the joke was, if I did have a daughter, I would give her a unisex male overtone middle name. So that way, as she went into the world, she would be able to say, yeah, my name is on paper this other thing. She could go by that in the corporate world type of aspects or in the regular society type aspects and not get that invisible resistance.
Yeah,
I had a job interview with my actual first name. They thought it was French.
Well, they were surprised.
I know, they were really disappointed when they didn't
imagine the wife
or something.
I think they did. They thought, how when you send something digitally, it may get mixed up or whatever. The reason why I say that is because I took a train to New York, dressed to the nines, whole nine, and I'm like, I have an interview. So, oh no, we don't have any more interviews for today. I'm like, oh really? That's unfortunate. I could have swore I had an interview at 3. No, there's a person who's coming in at 3, but this is a guy. I'm like, is the name spelled Knecole? And he's like, yeah. I said, Nicole, it's me. And he's like, oh, I ain't get the job.
Yeah, no shit.
I knew when that happens. I was like, ooh, I ain't getting this job.
Too late.
It was a director's position. And so
you might as well have just went and had a really good dinner and had a good time.
But if you're not aware of these things, it may end up messing with your head to the point where, I I knew I didn't get that job from that moment, but it still didn't take the sting out of it when I didn't get the job. And,
no, it still hurt. Still hurt the same.
Yeah.
But the irony of the situation is I got another job that was over that job, and those people had to come see me.
Oh, wonderful.
Funding.
Hey, the universe.
Yeah, the universe. But still, like, what if that had happened? Like, if you don't know about, if you like, and I think that's the real detriment of the situation, because whether it's Black privilege, white privilege, or poverty, or whatever the case may be, eventually you'll go to a situation where it's a difference. Like white privilege is the thing, but go to the hood.
Oh yeah, it's totally bad. There's no mean shit.
Your privilege is irrelevant at this particular moment.
Proximity.
Yes.
Proximity.
So now I'll start thinking about proximity. But yes, your privilege doesn't matter in that moment. However, like put my black ass in like a Ku Klux Klan rally, I'm gonna be real vulnerable.
Yeah.
So like
put you in an engineering class,
right?
Yeah.
Right when I first, but like I'm gonna be real. So we like if we're not aware of the benefits that exist in our own selves, we won't be able to take advantage of those benefits.
Yeah.
One, and two, we won't be able to combat the negative components of it. Right? Like, what happened with that white man at the airport? He was like, "You treat me like I'm a black person.
You treat me like a
He said when he clowned, and I was like, "Yo." The thing was, he's so aware of his privilege that he was, and I feel like
combated to tooth and nail. He fought it.
Well, also, I feel like he felt like everybody else was aware that the rules, punk. The rules. Why are you breaking this? And that's when I saw him, I said, that's a real moment. He ain't lying. He felt exactly that way. And everybody else got to see what the majority was thinking. That's what I thought.
It was validated.
But in regard to, so my thing is, I guess you made a good point. Open the door, speak to people. And I also say this, not to be negative, not to end on a negative moment.
Good. You missed doubt five, something whatever you think.
Well, but
Miss Dowdy.
But what I heard from Ray and you too as well regarding how to get people on your side and from the poverty edition of it, and to get people to understand that part, you have to be willing to shell out money. Because people who don't have need, and so they'll be more likely to listen to you if you provide, and then you can give them information via finding that little window or door, or when their guards are down, and guards are down when they have. So if you're talking about I don't have money, then you're providing them food, you're providing them this, and you can provide them information with it. So if we're talking about the most effective way to effect change, is you're gonna have to access it from their needs.
Yeah.
Is that a negative statement?
No.
Find out what they need, and hey, you got to come to my black ass.
Truth is rarely negative. It's just truth.
No.
Tell the social justice warriors.
Yeah, no.
Or I say social justice.
I said rarely. Truth is truth.
Yeah, truth is truth. Yeah. But anyway, it's been 2 hours.
It has been 2 hours. It flew. Ray, we want to thank you for policing our conversation.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and being a white person to keep justice in this. Black people don't act right unless a white person in the room. So
don't say that, because that's how people feel.
Okay, it's truth to people. So that's truth to somebody. A lot of folks say that
is the truth. No.
Yes, truth.
I don't see it.
TRUF. Truth.
Yeah, the truth.
Truth.
Remember that commercial? Yeah, I remember that commercial.
True. That's from sorry, I watch Rick and Morty. So to me, that's from episode.
I watched it a couple times. There was a period, that was it.
How dare you?
It's beautiful. I love it.
That's a great show. But thank you for coming on. Like, let's see. The thing about Ray is always like he will. Like everybody, the hotter heads will prevail, and he's the chill one. And he's like, "Yo, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that?" So, and this is what I mean when I talk about community. The sooner we can understand the differences, the sooner we can appreciate the differences, the sooner we can work together just to be better as a general, like just as a species of people.
Mm-hmm.
So like the human race shit that people have been spouting but don't really mean.
Yeah.
So Ray also does a lot of work with the veteran community, by the way. I wanted to say that. I know you just sent me a message. Was that a GoFundMe you sent me that they were doing for that?
No, it's so I was on a small group team in Baghdad back in like 2006. We had like eight or nine of us, depending upon what the day was. But one of my teammates from that deployment in Iraq was in a motorcycle accident. I'm still getting more details. I'm not sure if it was today or yesterday, but he's still in ICU. But I was able to get a hold of the hospital he was at or whatever. So yeah, somebody somewhere started a GoFundMe for it. I wasn't sending it to you for the GoFundMe aspect. I was just, oh, by the way, part of the reason I'm kind of late is one, I'm on a cane, from the surgery situation that I had a few weeks ago. But then I've also been dealing with the messages. Y'all see me going back and forth, probably looking down and looking away. I'm notifying a lot of people of like where he's at, what the address is, the room number, and all this other kind of stuff. So that way, when this guy comes out of whatever lucidness, coma, way we don't know yet, situation, that he's going to be. Don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
So still working on all of the 5 W's right now. But somebody that's in a mutual motorcycle type of aspect to him created a GoFundMe. I think they're almost up to like $2,000, like within 24 hours, which just lends to the fact of like of who this guy was as a person. You know what I mean? He was a great guy. But again, he is an exact example of somebody who had a wall up, was racist, like the majority Boise, Idaho type, white guy, right?
Never seen black folk.
And did not, he meets me, like he's a superior in the military, like he outranked me by 2 when we first met. And it wasn't until like we would have those sitting in Baghdad, surrounded by people who don't look like us, don't speak our language, walking through the Saddam market and all these other kind of aspects, and people just literally want to kill us. That he's, tell me more about you. Tell me about your lifestyle. Like you're married to her. Like, why would you, like, I don't understand, like those moments of boredom that created the wall coming down. And then me being young, trying to impart too much on him, wall goes back up. That's the kind of like where I got that experience. And then lend to the aspect of over the last 5 years that his son, who's now post-military life, is transitioning. Now it matters.
Yeah.
The LGBT community matters to him now that his son is making that transition. And now his world is opening up more and all these other aspects. And again, it's ignorance and hate are 2 different things. You can be ignorant and hate, and then you can be informed and hate. And there's 2 different aspects. And then when you're ignorant and hate, and you can be re-educated. When you're already educated in hate, I appreciate you being who you are, and I'm glad I know where you're at. Because now I can at least work or in or around whatever I've got to do with you and, communicate how I need to communicate with you. I actually appreciate the informed, educated, and still hate people, because now I know how to deal with you. Yeah. I hate the secretive, I don't like dealing with the secretive and hate people. You know what I mean? So he, perfect example of somebody who was closed-minded and now is not, and is very much more has become the social, patriot, so to speak, now after the fact.
Mm.
And for the record, your wife is fine. That's why. Did he see your wife?
Yeah, especially back then, I was like 160 pounds. I could run, no knee problems, no pain. She was about the same back then too. But she's 6'1". I'm only 6 foot. So she got me like.
So
yeah, it's been 2 hours and something. Yeah. She's getting tired because she's
She wants tacos.
Oh, tacos would be lovely.
Or waffles.
No, waffles, pancakes, and French toast.
French
All
toast
three.
combined.
Yeah, combined. I saw that on the. I know.
What? Okay, say
It's
again.
So, okay.
pancake.
Want me to tell them how I do it?
Oh, yeah, but that wasn't. It was a
So,
pancake.
yeah.
No,
Imagine making a apple filling ish, but light on the filling, like apple filling waffle,
Mhm.
and then you pull that out. But then you take like a pancake and you put it down with like a nutmeg kind of flavor, and you put the waffle down into the pancake batter, and you let the pancake become a pancake, and you flip that, right? But now you have a cinnamon-based a French toast batter mixed up, and then you dip the other side of the waffle in the French toast, and then you make the French toast. So you literally have a waffle that's been pancaked, like an Oreo, so to speak, with French toast on one side, and then a pancake on the other side. And I was telling her what they should have done was make an apple-filled flavor type waffle with a cinnamon and nutmeg on the opposite sides, and then use a like a peach infused drizzle for the hot syrup. By the way, I cook.
Okay, so yeah, Black community.
I have seasoning too, so okay.
Type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 diabetes.
That's what he heard. He heard diabetes.
I heard diabetes. The sugar. I don't want the sugar. I don't want the sugar.
It's carb and carbed. Heidi said yum.
Yeah, Heidi does say it does sound delicious though.
I'll put it this way. When I go to my in-laws, I'm invited to bring dishes.
Okay.
You don't put no raisins.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, so you don't put raisins and carrots and stuff in.
I joke about it, but no.
Well, we had the last thing I'll say about Ray. One thing I was making fun of, I was like, how many people mess with you about not bringing your food to the thing? He said, nobody, because they had my food, because I use seasoning. I said, oh shit.
I know what seasoning is.
Yes, like oh shit.
There's layers to the game.
You said what?
He says layers to the game.
Oh, layers. Okay.
But thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, have fun.
I appreciate you're always thoughtful about your approach to things. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for giving us a little more perspective and to
appreciate y'all having me by. I had fun.
White privilege. Appreciate you coming. I want to say 2 things. No, 3 things actually. Au revoir, Ray. Au revoir, Nicole. Au revoir, people.
What's au revoir?
All you do is a bonjour.